Greetings, fellow explorers and my brothers and sisters of Tartaria. Welcome to Quest for Tartaria. In this episode, we will explore the Burrunjor. It's a living, breathing Australian T-Rex. Check it out, guys.
Gulf country up at Currumbin on the Gulf of Tartaria. I found 2 years ago with Heather, and this creature had walked through a paddock during the night and walked across a little dry sandy creek about a couple of metres wide, and there were a couple of tracks there, and I only had enough plaster for one anyway, but I took photos and slides and it didn't come out too good, but I got this, and that convinces me Burrunjor exists. Burrunjor is a giant bipedal reptilian creature in Aboriginal folklore. It can't be a giant lizard standing on two legs like some monitors are known to do, when they've been seen running. So he's got 3 toes and not 5. That makes him something like, well, people would naturally think of a Tyrannosaurus, and it's along that line, but who's to say that they're not around still? The Gulf.
Judging by the size of that last footprint, guys, that beast must have been at least 20 feet tall. That's as big as Rexy in the Jurassic Park series. In this video right here, the Aborigine people go out because there's some unidentified prints in the sand. So I did a little bit of reading on this. So they get out there and they've been trying to show the colonists and the people in Australia that these creatures exist, and they've existed for a long time. And what you have to understand is Australia is barely inhabited by humans. I mean, it's just a very minuscule area along the coastline. You could even look into it. The most of Australia is a vast wilderness. And if you compare Australia to the United States, you'll see that Australia is enormous. And in Queensland, they see this creature in the swamps. And it's just not a hospitable place for humans. And the creatures seem like they don't really mess with humans either. So yeah, that's why we haven't had people going up missing because the Burrunjor ate them or whatnot. I'm sure there's other cryptids out there that may, have a go at people. But oh yeah, check this out, guys. We're about to get really, really good.
people think it's Australia.
Native Australians have been talking about the Burrunjor for a very long time, before even the discovery of dinosaur bones. And I mean, I believe a lot of these cryptids out there, especially when they have native names, you know, they are worth looking into. And a lot of modern controllers, they don't want us to know that these things exist. They want to make us live in this industrial revolution world instead of this magical, amazing world that we actually live in. My real question is, after doing this study, was how big is Australia? I mean, it's only colonized on the outskirts, but I mean, how big is it really?
Another cryptid that is allegedly roaming around in Australia. This creature is described as a giant lizard with small clawed hands. It's 20 to 25 feet long and 20 foot tall and is bipedal. Very similar to that of a T-Rex, and due to the fact that there are a lot of reported sightings, and it's even in the Aboriginal mythology, some believe that it might actually exist somewhere in Australia. And Australia is a continent with a very low population, and most people do live near the water. So, although extremely unlikely, but it's possible that there could be a large unknown animal still hiding from us there. One famous encounter happened in the 1950s when cattle ranchers spotted large three-toed tracks in their fields. And these ranchers, well, they were kind of freaked out by this because they had never seen any tracks like this before. And at this time, their livestock did start to go missing, and they discovered a half-eaten cow. And they believed that whatever animal made these huge tracks was responsible for killing this cow, and most likely all the others that had disappeared never to be seen again. This story sounds almost identical to my last video about the megalania, in regards to people finding large tracks and half-eaten cows in their fields. But there is one huge difference. The megalania has 5 toes, not 3, and I would like to thank my subscribers for pointing that out to me. Another very similar case happened in 1980 when ranchers believed something big was stealing their cattle, big enough to pick them up and carry them off. At first, these ranchers thought that it must be crocodiles, but one of them claimed that he saw a 20-foot tall monster carrying a cow in his jaws. And this man, scared to death, ran as fast as he could and he hid behind a bush. And because so many ranchers were losing cattle at this time, they were fed up. So 20 of them got together in hopes of finding and killing this monster. But when they reached the river, their dogs started to act strange, and then they ran away. Then the horses just stopped. They would go no further. So the ranchers, a little bit freaked out by this, decided to call it off. And while they were walking back to their ranch, they did see some large 3-toed tracks. Now, about a week or so later, these attacks on their cattle stopped, so they figured that this animal, whatever it was, must have moved on. Another sighting happened in 1957 when ranchers saw all their cattle just start to act crazy one night. And while they were looking around wondering what the heck was scaring them, they saw one of their team members running and screaming at the top of his lungs in the distance, followed by what appeared to be a very large creature. Now, since it was night, they didn't get a very good look at it, but the next day they did find out that some of their cattle had been ripped to shreds and eaten. Another story happened in 1978 when a man who was herding cattle in a very remote area got lost for 3 days. And while he was missing, 2 Aboriginal trackers along with a couple policemen went looking for him. And during the night, the 2 Aboriginal trackers woke up the policemen and told them that they need to leave now. And as the policemen were getting up, they noticed that the ground was shaking, and these 2 trackers looked scared. Something very big was walking nearby. And this just scared them to death, so they got the heck out of there as fast as they could. And while they were running away, they did hear strange sounds, such as grunting and breathing. Now, if this policeman who came forward with the story is telling the truth, it does make me wonder, how big would an animal need to be if it could shake the ground when it's walking? Now, according to this article, there have been many reported sightings over the years. In 1961, a man reported seeing a 25-foot tall bipedal reptilian creature. In 1922, there was a mass sighting from ranchers who reported seeing a huge bipedal monster with a crocodile-like tail. Then in 1982, there was another sighting of a bipedal creature that looked exactly like a dinosaur, but it was only about the size of a man. Then in 1961, a group of hunters claimed that they saw a huge monster that looked exactly like a T-Rex during a dust storm. A very famous case happened in 1985 when a family claimed that while they were driving in a very remote area, they saw a 20-foot-long monster covered in feathers. And there are many, many more sightings, which is amazing. And what I find fascinating about this case is that these creatures are in the native mythology. According to them, they have been living side by side with them for thousands of years. And there are many cave paintings of what appear to be an animal that looks exactly like a T-Rex. Now, it is believed that the T-Rex only lived in North America and Asia. But in 2010, archaeologists made an amazing discovery. They discovered that there was once a dinosaur that is a cousin of a T-Rex that did live in Australia millions of years ago. And it is known by the locals as the Australian T-Rex. And it perfectly fits the description of all these sightings, which is mind-blowing. It is rare to cover a case that has so many sightings over the years, making me wonder, could a large dinosaur that once roamed Australia millions of years ago still exist to this very day?
The Burrunjor. Honestly, my mind was blown by the footprints in the sand. But guys, can you imagine? Yes, of course we can. We should check out the Tartaria map also to see what's on it.
The Burrunjor is allegedly a large theropod-like animal reported from the Australian outback. Most Burrunjor sightings tend to be thought of as things that have happened close to 40 years ago, 40 to 50. Certainly nothing more recent than, say, the 1980s or 1970s. However, speaking of my Burrunjor video, I've had the opportunity to come across far more recent reports. Granted, it is only 2 of them, but they're very interesting, and the fact that they've been shared anonymously with nothing really to gain certainly may be considered significant. In order to help relay these newer reports, I've put together this video and asked my good friend and colleague, Nate Brislin, to help narrate these reports. If you'd like to read them yourself, they can be found in the comments section of my Burrunjor video, which again is worth a watch if you want to know more about the actual subject itself. All this video will cover is these new reports, which will now be read off. Make what you will of the following. The first report is a more general one, coming from the late 90s, and involves a secondhand story.
When I was about 1, me and my family went on a long vacation and tour of Australia, late 90s. When we reached the Cairns in Queensland, on one day out with the group, we went into a rainforest park up in the Highlands. One of the guides told us about an event a few years back where a park ranger was attacked by a man-sized reptilian creature that walked on its back legs. The Aboriginals also said that they were aware of a creature in the jungle, the body of a kangaroo, but the head and skin of a crocodile. Sounds like a dinosaur to me.
While the first was more vague, this second story is far more specific, and although anonymous, entails much more than the first did.
A friend of mine who lives in Australia saw a Burrunjor in 2014. I'm going to share her story anonymously. He had just bought a farm and moved his family out of the suburbs. He was out looking for a sheep that had escaped and came across a T-Rex wading in a creek. He watched it drink for about a minute, until the creature started sniffing about in his direction and grunting agitatedly. He fled immediately, fearing that it had noticed him and would attack. This event scared him so badly he sold the farm, packed up his family, and returned to the suburbs he had been so excited to get out of just a few months before. His wife was extremely confused and angry about the whole situation, and eventually threatened to leave him and take their children if he didn't explain what was wrong. Finally, he told her what he saw, and that it had terrified him imagining what would happen if the creature came across his children who loved wandering the property when not doing chores, or his wife who often went out on her own to do work in the remote areas of the farm. His wife was part Aborigine, and instead of saying he was on drugs or lying like he expected, was only mildly surprised. She told him that native Australians have known about them forever, and seen them more often than people would believe, but simply don't mention Burrunjors because white people call them crazy. She was more shocked that one had come so close to their house because they avoided humans whenever possible. They are still married and living in a suburban neighborhood to this day, and he still refuses to go near the area of their former property. I'm not sure if I believe in the Burrunjor, but I do believe something scared my friend so badly, he dropped his lifelong dream, gave up thousands of dollars, and moved his family over 200 kilometers to get away from it.
Those are some truly amazing YouTubers and truthers. You'll find them on YouTube. I'll leave a link in the description. Now let's check out Australia. Okay. We are busting out the Tartaria map. And this is, of course, China area. And I think that's Japan. And of course the Philippines area. But what I found really interesting is down here, I mean, if this is Australia, then it was way bigger. If this is the Australia. And where I'm thinking it's Australia is, they say, oh, camels were imported into Australia, to fit the narrative. But there's already camels on this map. Creatures that are living in the trees. Griffin kind of creatures here too. All kinds of different creatures. Let's see if we can find any hidden creatures that just might have survived. Got your lion and griffin fighting here. And you got your serpent and your giant yeti fighting down here too. But looks like grasslands and trees, cyclops. Okay, first off, there's this. It looks like some kind of serpent creature. Some kind of elk or deer that swims in the sea. Some strange creatures. Going to the oasis here. I mean, are those dodo birds? There's that. There's emus, and I believe that's what's in Australia. Oh yeah, I mean, maybe these creatures were indigenous to the area. Serpent. There's a serpent with only two legs, which is interesting. Camel. All right, we're back here again. Maybe a bear. There's some kind of creature. I can't tell if that's a wolf, bear, serpentine. I'm not sure. And then there's that. That's interesting. Some kind of bird. Some kind of primate. Then Dimetrodon, looks like, which is interesting. Yeah, 1500s map, guys. Look at that. Dinosaurs and humans, or this. So I don't know if I see the Burrunjor necessarily, but I mean, they look like elephants and stuff. Okay, let's see if we can find Australia on here, which is really interesting. Okay, if you would look at the bottom of the map, it says Terra Australis Incognita, but also in small little writing right there, it says Antarcticus or some Antarcticus. But yeah, I found that out while I was doing my video editing, and I thought, wow, Australis as well as the Circulus of Antarcticus, which is really interesting because it reminds me of the equator, the Tropic of Cancer, Capricorn. But what if there's also a circulus of Antarcticus? But yeah, and there we go. I got just one little place called Beach. And this is the Columbus map, if I remember right. See, the Nova Todius Terram Orbis Graphicia, I think. Or wait, I forgot where it says it. Right here. Oh. American Christopher Columbus, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it's interesting. But anyway, the Magellansia Terra Australis Incognita, which is interesting. That's interesting. But look, is that saying that this land is all through here, and also it's being called like Australia? Isn't that weird? Isn't it odd how Australia, I know it's a vast wilderness, guys, I understand, but how much of the continent do you guys really know? All you Australians. How much of that continent do you guys really know? Have you guys sailed around it? That's a real question. I asked all the Australians if there's any seafarers or whatnot. It's a really, really good question, guys. You know, if you're looking at the Burrunjor and stuff. Because, yeah, the territory and the fact that it's there. Anyway, we'll go jump on the other map. Magellan Sea, right here. Interesting, guys. What's that a picture of? Very interesting. If that's not Australia, we have this continent. Some interesting creatures. Does that look like with them? I forgot what they're called, the big ice age, tall ice age creatures. You know, it's this one looks more deserty. There's some reptiles. Yeah, I don't know where the modern day Australia is on this map, but yeah, it's odd, isn't it? I mean, they have all kinds of cool creatures, all kinds of elephants all over those. You know? Yeah, I don't know, guys. Go back up into Asia real quick. They have more camels, it looks like. But like chimeras, unicorns. You know, it's interesting. Very interesting. Here's that from that previous video. The area of the Lopnur. But yeah. Very interesting. I'm trying to figure out where Queensland is. Is that it? Where the dinosaur is? The Burrunjor. But anyway. Like and subscribe to Quest for Tartaria. We don't have a whole lot of subscribers, but that doesn't matter. It looks like we're kind of just picking out the people that are awakening, I believe. The ones that are further awake, I might say. Everybody might be awakening, but the ones that are really awake, I know they joined Tartaria. Oh, a special treat. I got some remnants of the inland sea right here. Kind of the Sierra Nevadas, in California. But yeah, I found some coral right here in the desert. Check it out. You can see the life that was once in these rocks. The coral that was in the sea. The inland sea. Bet you guys might like that. The coral. Okay, so if we go back to the map, I do believe this says Australia. It says Australia, Australe, Glaciato, the mayor of Australia Glaciato. That's interesting. And then you've got some awesome creatures too. Look like they had those Ice Age. Back in the 1500s, they had the Ice Age creatures here. And guys, do they still in Australia? I mean, it's hardly discovered. I mean, you guys are all living just on the side here, you know. And, well, yeah, watch out for these in the water, right? Who knows what's going to happen. This reminds me of the Book of Enoch, and makes me start questioning how long ago did that all happen with crossing humans and animals and stuff. Could be a cycle that keeps happening. And I would put my money on this area, or up here for the Burrunjor's modern, you know, where it lives. I don't know if it could have crossed the sea there, but I doubt it. But it could very well have migrated to there. Tartaria region. It tells you, I mean, I wish I could read all this. The land, the terra. Wouldn't that be crazy if we saw a Burrunjor right here? Oh my gosh. Some kind of... What is that? Some kind of dog creature? Hey, fits the bill. People say it's a dog-like creature from a distance and stuff. I mean, look at these things, guys. There's that lizard the one guy was talking about. Apparently the Australians had to kill this giant lizard when they first colonized there. And the lizard was eating people, so it's a big prehistoric lizard, like a supersized Komodo dragon. And they had to kill it by, when it would bask in the sun in the morning, they would shoot it in the head with a musket. That's how they would kill them. They killed them all off. But guys, could this be our Burrunjor? A small picture of it. But then the arms, I mean, look at the... No, I don't think so. Look at the arms. It's small arms in the front, right? Or that. It's just odd. It's hard to make out. Those might be mammals, but you know, I may be stretching. But these are definitely lizards. You know. And that is definitely a satyr hunting over there. What if they wiped out, in the last Great Reset, the powers that be wiped out all the mythological creatures off the earth, as well as the humans that were in control of the earth? What an interesting thought, right? But anyway, there you go. There's your Australia. I do believe, I don't know if this is a part of it, but there's a lot more to explore. And I hope you like and subscribe to Quest for Tartaria. We are on YouTube and on Bitchute. If you find us anywhere else, then they're hopefully advertising for us. But if you want to help Quest for Tartaria, jump on YouTube and Bitchute. There is more to come. All right, take care.